I'd say midway point. It's kind of odd. Usually this Midnight Madness, everything's on the same day, but this uniqueness of when we're starting our season, we're actually at the midway point of the preseason. We're 3 weeks in. I told you 3 weeks into practice from the first time I talked to you that we'd have some issues. The team has worked extremely hard. I really like the lack of egos. I like the fact that nobody acts like they're better than someone else. The chemistry is good. When you get a lot of guys back, that's important. It's no secret there's a chance we could be ranked 1 for the first time in the history of our school to start out the season, which means unfortunately nothing except to me. It means the only team that I know that went end to end in the last 20 years was Carolina. And they beat us by 20-some at the beginning of the year, and they beat us by 18 at the end of the year. So they were about the only team, and yet on that team there were about, I think, 3 or 4 NBA players. But it would be an honor if that happened, and if it did, we would embrace it. We're going to be picked in the top 5, and I think that's awesome for the program, awesome for the players. We do have our set of question marks. When we opened practice, I told you that a couple of big question marks: who would play the 4 spot or one of the forward spots if there's no numbering system anymore. How's Josh's health? A little bit. How is Kyle Arns' health? And I feel better about the questions now, but some questions won't be answered until we start playing. Is Josh going to be able to go day after day after day after day? He's definitely not going to be the same player today as he's going to be in 3 weeks, and he's definitely not going to be the same player then as he'll be probably by the beginning of December. I looked at it the whole time that it would take 3 or 4, gotta love it, 3 or 4, somebody's wife's calling. If he's out 7 to 7.5 months, it could take 3 months to get him back to where he's at. But we'll answer those questions soon enough. With the brutal schedule we play early, especially in the first 26 days, I think it'll be important to maintain a perspective, regardless of wins and losses, and what we're really trying to accomplish. We're trying to accomplish get better every day. We're trying to accomplish get better by the end of the season, and that's what we're going to keep our eyes on. To some people, we have 4 starters back. I could turn that around, as I've said, and with Cassius, Xavier, Aaron, and Josh, it looks good. On the other hand, you could easily say that we lost 3 starters. We lost Matt McQuaid, we lost Kenny Goins, and we lost Nick Ward. And in that group, that was 30 points and 15 rebounds. People have lost sight of that a little bit, which I don't think matters one way or another. So while I'll embrace the expectations, while I'm excited about it, I'm hoping we're going to still remain the same blue-collar institution that we are, and blue-collar program. We're going to continue to preach that. More importantly, our leaders will continue to preach that. We do have some talented players. We don't have a ton of guys that are in everybody's first round, all everything, but we have experience. We have very good players. Any success we have is still going to be through 2 things, if you ask me. A lot of hard work and try to limit the distractions that are out there every day of the year. So that's what I'm looking for in the short run. I'll hit my team real quick, and then I'll open it up for some questions. So if I go from my seniors, in Langford, he has made great progress. He was averaging 15 points a game through the early part of the season. Then he started playing, not as much, and then not at all for January on. That was a problem. But since he started playing full a few weeks ago, he has been very impressive, but still with some unknowns. So I'm excited about Josh because he's excited to be back playing. He kept himself in great shape. He did an unbelievable job with his body this summer, not being able to do much running. He shot out of a chair all summer. His shot looks good. It's, again, playing every day will be the big key. And Kyle Arns, he too had a great summer with his health. Josh didn't start playing until probably August, but Kyle started playing probably in July. We really missed him in the NCAA tournament. I mean, he was playing 18, 19 minutes a game, and I think we got in foul trouble, and having him out really hurt us in those games, but he's come back and has really been one of our vocal leaders. He is one of our best athletes, and I think he's been kind of a forgotten man here in a lot of ways, that if those two guys stay healthy, of course it's going to make our team a lot different. And Connor George, another fifth-year player, I've been pleased with Connor. He can really shoot the ball, and he's a great offensive rebounder. And Brandon Burke, he too has improved his body. We think against certain teams we might need an extra big body, one that is 6'10" or bigger, and that's what Brandon brings to the table. Last but not least, of course, is Cassius. And we rested him the first 6 weeks of the summer. He is the straw that stirs the drink, and I think deserves all the attention he's been getting because he is a special player. But I think he's handled it very well too, with a lot of class, and has worked hard. To have a chance to reach something pretty impressive, and that's 2,000 points, 1,000 assists, should be one of his goals, should be one of our goals, because it's something that is very, very special. But maybe more special would be to lead this team each and every day to getting better. I think his strength is a lot better. Definitely we worked on his leg strength. I think his defense has improved a lot in practice. We'll see how it goes in a game. The juniors, Tillman, a player in the post who had a great NCAA tournament, great finish to the year. He made big steps when we moved him into the starting lineup when Nick was hurt. From when he came here as a freshman to where he is now, is physically and skillfully an incredible improvement. It's not the 35 pounds or more, it's the improvement on the shot. We asked him to get better in the post. Last year we asked him to get better from the free throw line. I think he's one of the great on-ball defenders in the country as far as defensively, and he's getting better at both pick and pops and pick and rolls. And I think Xavier is primed to have a great year. I had two other juniors, Jack Hoiberg and Brock Washington. Both of them have been members of our scout team so far, but both of them have been guys that I think can play here someday. Brock is really shooting the ball better, he got in great shape. And Hoiberg is a guy that is maybe one of our best defensive point guards and has improved his shooting. Aaron Henry, like Xavier, had a tremendous NCAA tournament. And down the stretch, he was big for us. What did he have to get better at? He has to get better at his ball handling, better at his perimeter shooting, which he's made great strides in. I think he's also could be one of the best defenders we've had here since Gary Harris. Coming from the same area, that's a compliment. And then we got our three guys that I think are going to determine a lot for us, in Kithier, Gabe Brown, and Bingham. Each are going to be in a position where they will have a shot at actually starting or playing a lot. They all should be part of the playing group. Thomas got a little more experience than the other guys and is good complement to Xavier. He can play some center, he can play some four. Gabe had the great game against LSU in the NCAA tournament, has worked really hard over the summer. Probably spent more time in the gym than anybody since Sean Resford. And I say that, I think last week he got 2,600 shots up. Or this week, last week, he had 2,600 in 4 days. And I think he's just a guy that lives in the gym, loves the gym, and is trying to improve his defense, and that'll make a difference. He's really shot the ball well. Marcus, he did exactly what we asked him to do this summer. He went from 193 as a freshman to 225, got a little sick a couple weeks ago and dropped down to 220. But hopefully we can keep him at the 220 to 225, which, is a good 25 pounds from where he was. And yet, if you're heavy like Xavier was, and you lose a little weight, they say, it's like a chair off the Titanic. Well, this, I don't know what it is, the opposite. because this kid has gone from very, very skinny to a much more physical kid. Still, in my mind, he's got 20 pounds to go, but he's really rebounded the ball better, which is a surprise. He's taken contact better, and he's made some progress, so I'm excited for him. Foster Lawyer is gained 20 pounds from last year, which he needed to do. Can really still run a team. The same issues that Cassius had as a freshman, Foster has. Can he guard people and get better at that? He's done that. I said the added strength has helped. So he's made progress. And the other sophomore would be Hauser, which we still don't know where we are with him. As you're starting to see, there's been 3 or 4 denied and 3 or 4 accepted in just the last 3 or 4 days. But sooner or later, this kid's going to be a great player. As far as the 4 freshmen, Rocket is starting to, he missed the first 6 weeks of the summer, and I thought that set him back a little bit. But lately, he's starting to shoot the ball better. He could be one of our best defensive guards also. He's tough, he's athletic, he's a really good defender. He's worked very hard now to get that shot back, but I've been a little surprised at how well he's passed the ball. Malik Hall and Julius Marble are a little bit clones. One's a little bit better shooter, that would be Malik. One's a little tougher, like an Ellen Nanya, that would be Julius. But he has caught our eye in the preseason, Julius. After sitting out a while, we look at him as an Andre Hudson type guy. Also that can shoot it a little bit, but can play in the post, not afraid to be physical. And Malik, he's a very good rebounder, but he can shoot it better, and is a 3-point shooter. And the last one is the unsung guy, and Steven, my son. And he too has been very committed to what he's doing, and what he's doing is a little different than the other guys. He's been learning how to be part of a team, learning how to work. I figure that still, he's been on the scout team. He's kind of been the manager that does all the drill work with him. And all the time I missed in high school, I probably made up for, 3 weeks we've been, I made up for the 16 games I missed his senior year. So I figure I'm getting something out of it. Hopefully he's getting something out of it. Most importantly, I think he's a good teammate and a good locker room guy for the rest of the guys. So, wow, that was a lot said. Now the fun part, let's open it up. Questions?
Tom, this summer talking with Cash about the chance to do something never done in college basketball, he got real surreal and just said, that doesn't really matter to me, I just want a championship. How special is it to have your best player and leader with that mentality?
A lot of guys say that kind of stuff, and yet deep down they, I don't care if I score 20 points, I'd sure like to score 20 points a game, He doesn't care. He really doesn't. If you talk to Cassius, like when we talked to him about, NBA opportunities or what's going to happen at the end of last year, it was like sometimes he's in awe of where he is. That is the neatest, humbling feeling you can have for a star. As I've been told a couple times, sometimes if you're too humble, though, it hinders you from being great. And that's the happy medium we got to find. I love his humility, I love his humbleness, but I want to make sure he knows that I think he can become one of those special guys and play and help lead us to great things and then play basketball after college. And so I think that's my goal, I think that's his goal. I think it's cool when the coach and the player have the same goals, and I do appreciate his humbleness over the entire time he's been here. But if you really look at what that kid has done, when you look at his freshman year and everybody was disappointed or, questioning and this and that summer he really went to work. He got better that summer. And he got a little better the next summer. He had a great year until, at the end of the year, the knee a little bit, just wear and tear. I watched a couple of those Big Ten tournament and NCAA games last year, and he felt like you could see him almost walking on his knee, on his knees. And And then this summer, took some time off, and we told him he's got to get those legs stronger, not only for his quads, but also his defense, because that's one area that has to improve if he's going to really take us to another level. I thought he did everything we asked of him and more, and anxious to see how that pans out.
How does this team compare in terms of talent and depth to the best you've had in those departments? And what do you hope you learn from having top 5 teams preseason in the past?
What would Nick call you guys? Rat poison guys? Is that what he said? I got to keep away all the expectations as far as, with the social media world and all that. That worries me that a lot of my other teams, it didn't worry me as much, although we've had some. And it's not the talent of a Jaron and Miles. It's the experience of a Denzel's team, or like a cat, even the team we had when we won it. We had a lot of experience and very good talent. I think we have good talent. I think one of the problems is there's those unknowns. Where will Josh and Kyle be? That's an unknown. Which one of those young kids will emerge? We do have an empty position there a little bit. Someone's going to play in that position that doesn't have much experience. And that'll be a question mark that I think we're going to have to address as we go. But what I like about this team, I think it could be very good defensively. I think if Josh gets back to like he was, he'll become one of those great two-way players. I think on the other wing, Aaron Henry could be as good a two-way player as we've had in a long time. And I think Cassius is almost a three-way player. If he can guard, I think he's going to be able to, the way he can shoot and pass, he becomes a three-way player. That gives us a lot on the perimeter. I know we're solid as a rock with Xavier and the improvements he's made, and yet there are unknowns at that other position. I like the pieces. I like the opportunity. What I don't like is there's not been a lot of separation yet. It seems like Malik can do his little something. Marcus can probably shoot it better than anybody. Thomas Kithier probably plays the best with Xavier right now. He knows how to stay out of his way in that. Julius Merle might be the strongest, toughest of the bunch, one of the best rebounders of the bunch, and yet there's not a lot of separation. So there's going to be some picking and choosing here in the next couple of weeks. That's why the scrimmages and the preseason are going to be important, and then we're ready to the fire with Kentucky right off the bat.
I guess looking at Aaron Henry, you go back to the NCAA tournament, you mentioned how well he played throughout the tournament. There obviously was that little thing in the beginning of the tournament. What did he learn from that in terms, not necessarily of your lesson to him, but more about the eyes being on him and all the attention that comes with playing at this program, playing on spotlight games?
That's a good question, because there are things that everybody learned, including me. But at the same time, if I had to do it over again, I wouldn't change one thing. Because there had to be a reason. There comes to this line of demarcation in everybody's life where you're going left or you're going right. And if you looked at Aaron Henry from 2 plays later on in that game to the rest of the year, if you looked at his summer, and I told him the other day, I just laughed about it. I said, Aaron, I don't think I've talked to you once about going out. I don't think I've said a word to him all summer. And give that kid credit, give his family credit, support him, stayed on top of it, and give Aaron a lot of credit on this. Better watch waving my finger, he seems to create problems. But you better give Aaron some credit that from day one, he didn't even blink at that. Never complained about it, said he deserved it. It's so sad, this screwed up world we live in with the social media. It's so sad that you can pick and choose things, and you guys make the narrative that you want. Let's be honest about it. That's what interviews are all about right now. I go in, I want to interview somebody, and you have a thing you want to get through, and so the questions are asked that way, the narrative is painted that way, And that's hard. It's hard for me, but it's hard for them. And I'm not blaming you on it. It's the reality of the world we live in now. But Aaron never said a word about that. And I heard him talk to a couple guys, and if we had a recruit up this summer, I'd say, there's Aaron Henry, why don't you go ask him what it's like to get his finger waved in his face? And first thing he'd say is, hey, and that wasn't coach's fault, I needed that. There was a process there. The assistant coach had been saying stuff. And that's what people don't read into. So, probably, I think I'll wave my finger in low-hanging fruit, maybe I'll do it down here. Maybe I'll stay in a huddle if that satisfies everybody. But understand this, the point's always going to be the same. Do your job, take care of your business, and good things are going to happen to you. And if you want to be praised and you want to be coddled, do your job. And if you don't do your job, then, I didn't take him out of the game. I didn't bench him. I just sat there and told him that he better learn how to run harder and play harder. And boy, if there is ever a time that I was proud of a kid, his next 2 weeks were phenomenal. That's okay, because that's short term. His spring, summer, and fall have been off the charts as far as his work ethic. He's still got to get better with his shot, a little bit better offensive rebounding, but that running the lane, that going hard, that playing defense, that kid's giving me everything he's got.
Tom, I got 2 questions if I can. One,
What do you want, Hondo Jr. or what?
with the Joey Hauser situation, is that something that you'll know something definitive?
God, I told you guys, the preliminary stuff that I got, it didn't look good, but then, as you go through and you see some of these people and how they're getting them and what's going on, it's out of my hands. Do I think I'll know something by this week? 100%. It seems like everything's kind of trailing down to now.
You'll know something before the season starts.
Yeah, I think before the season starts, way for sure. I even think, we have a couple events coming up maybe that I don't know if I'll know, but I think I will know shortly. And what that does is that gives us some experience at that position a little bit more. But if not, and we're going to move on and find a way to fix it anyway. Second question.
You talked about a lot of players, a lot of depth that you have on this team. Is there a certain number that you want to hit as far as a rotation?
I think that's the hardest thing for me right now. There is a lot of depth on this team. Sometimes depth doesn't always mean greatness. In other words, part of the problem is, I think 1 through 6 or 7, I know exactly where we are. I think 7 to probably 11 or 12, nobody's separated themselves. So it's good depth. It's good potential talent, but nobody's raised up or fallen down yet. So that's the job of my staff to figure out not only who be the best to help us, but who would fit in with the guys we got. Xavier, we think Xavier's got to be able to do a lot of things. We think he can shoot a 3. We think he can be good in the post. We think he puts it on the floor. So I don't want guys getting in his way. We're going to try to space the floor out a little bit more this year. So, I still think you're going to see some games where it could be Gabe Brown, it could be Kyle Arns finishing games at the 4 if we need certain shooting, if we need certain free throw shooting. I've always felt good when we have the ability to go big or go small. Never felt good about going home, so I'd like to go big, go small, and not go home. And that's kind of what kind of team I think I have.
Coach, speaking on Aaron Henry's development, what would you say you've seen from him in terms of his, development and his skill in the open court and handling the ball? Because he showed an ability to facilitate last year. Are we going to be able to see more of that this year?
I think he will. I think he's, lately he's turned it over a little bit more because I think he's trying to get used to a new role, and that new role is putting on the floor more. He's a not only a willing passer, but a little better passer than we gave him credit for. And so that's been good. He's got to not turn it over. I still think that's one of the weaknesses of my teams over the years. I still think they got better, but we still turn it over too much. So Getting him out on the wing though, getting him in open court where he can do some of that, use his athletic ability, is going to be one of the reasons we need him to run on a consistent basis. I think he's in way better shape than he was in last year, and I think that's part of it. But I also think his skill level will be able to make a shot. He has that uncanny ability to finish with his right or his left hand, and that is going to, I think, really bode well for him. But you know, he's not a finished product yet, but he's got some qualities that it's fun to coach.
So, you mentioned that Rocket has been a better defender than you expected thus far. Is that just an athleticism thing, or how has he adjusted to the scheme?
You know, I think a little bit it is on athleticism because he is a phenomenal athlete, but I think it's more that he's kind of got that, you know, like the reason I love some of the guys like Keith Appling and Kalen and those guards before him like that were from Detroit, is there's a certain toughness that I think you bring from that city, and he has that. So he's not afraid to climb into you. He's not afraid to get into you. He's got the athletic ability to do it, but I think he's got the heart to do it, and that's a big factor. I mean, if you know some of the guards we're going to play early, there's some very good guards out there, and having a guy that I think can really get into him, maybe even full court some, I think is going to bode well for us.
Coach, motivation's a big factor in success. Obviously, you're 25 years here at Michigan State. How has your motivation changed from the early part of your career to the latter part of your career? And is there one motivating factor that still drives you today, be it an accolade, a relationship, or how you've made this a first-class program?
Well, I think what still drives me today is to help guys live the same dream I've gotten to live. You know, I'm still here, and still here coaching at a high level and accomplishing some things, whether it be accolades, whether it be financial, whether it be record-wise. And it's the same thing I hope for our guys, you know. Do they do something here that'll last a lifetime? Do they do something here that propel them into the next 60 years of their life in a better way? And that's what happened to me. That's why I was saying I get to live my dream. So that's probably my number one motivating reason. Number two is I still love this place. I really do. I mean, it is getting harder. It's getting harder to coach at this level. You see coaches taking off. I understand it. I understand, you know, the challenges that there are out there now. But for me, probably when you get to coach some guys that I get to coach, it makes it easier. You know, I sleep with a half eye open, but I don't sleep with two eyes open like some of the years I've had to. And it's been a pretty good run the last 5, 6 years. And maybe it's because we decided to try to recruit that way. Maybe it's because of the culture we've developed. Maybe it's because of the former players coming back. It isn't, sure as hell isn't all me. My assistant coaches, a lot of people have done a good job. You know, it was fun a couple weeks ago when Magic came back. It was fun to have the Pistons here and Isaiah Thomas talking about our program. You know, I do appreciate those things. I do. So I guess I still do it for that. What does that mean? Is that success? Is it? It's something that I'm hoping will last. You know, I still think I'm building the basement and the first floor. You know, someone's going to come and hopefully build a skyscraper if it's done right. A skyscraper can't survive if the basement and the first floor isn't solid as a rock. And that's still what I'm trying to do, because there's always people pecking at the basement, you know, and to try to keep that thing solid and consistent and still keep the culture when you're losing players and transfers and all the things that are going on is not easy. But right now I'm still enjoying it.
Excuse me. With Joey, what is he giving you guys in practice at that spot with when you're looking at evaluating Malik and Julius and Thomas, all those guys? What's he giving you in practice with a guy like that? And what do you think you sort of need to see to eventually know who your guy is going to be at that spot? What do you want to get to where you're comfortable with?
Well, Joey's a little
this
different,
season?
he started for a whole year, and he's probably the second best shooter on our team. He can really shoot the ball. He's like an AJ Granger in that. What's impressed me more about Joey, he's a little more physical than I thought, a little better defensively than I thought, and a lot better passer. I bet you if you asked him right now what's his favorite thing to do and what his strongest suit is, he'd tell you passing. He's not Magic Johnson, but he really sees the floor, and with his size can throw phenomenal passes. What I need from the guys that if he isn't there, or if it's other guys that still be playing in that position, I need people that can hit an open shot. I need people that can make a pass, but I need people that can guard, because with our foreman is Kenny. Kenny was a guy we could switch a lot with, but Kenny, as I watched those games the other night that I watched, phenomenal rebounder. I mean, he averaged almost 9 rebounds a game at a 6'6" and a half kid, 6'7" max. And those guys now, everybody wants to hang around the perimeter. Kenny hung around the perimeter a little bit, but still found a way to get there, use his athletic ability. I think a guy like Malik can do that. I think he's got the athletic ability and the strength. It's one thing about 2 of those freshmen, In fact, all 3 of them have strength. The 4th one doesn't have any strength, but that's not his heredity, because we all know why it's not. But those 3 guys are tough enough to play right now, and that makes a big difference, physical, and we're going to need some of that.
Tom spent some time with Rocket recently, and I asked him what he'd learned most so far, and he said to listen. Thought that was a unique answer for him. Does that surprise you a little bit that that's hit him most from Cash?
He's had a tough go. He's been at different programs and moved around a little bit, and I think Rocket is like, he does want to learn, but he doesn't know how to always listen. You're right. He's trying to learn how to do that, because he's had so many different people talking to him, and I've really seen, like this last week, when Cassius is starting to take him, when Gabe's starting to take him, Josh and Kyle Lawrence, there's been a couple of guys that have really tried to take him under their wing, and that's the coolest part of the job. When Magic was here, he called them out, in a positive way, but I think he needs to have a little success. He needs to learn how to be a little more disciplined as a player. I mean, he's open court, he's great, he passes the ball. Sometimes he's not as disciplined of a shooter, and he can really shoot the ball, but sometimes he makes a good shot, a bad shot. So he's working on that. He's been getting in more. He's doing all the things that you're supposed to do, and as I told him, we're trying to speed the process because we think he can help us.
Coach, in the back here, you mentioned before how you want your players to handle the expectations and not be caught by the distractions. How have you learned over the years to do that? Are there still times where you kind of catch yourself, believing the hype and reminding yourself, not to do that?
Easy. I ordered my tickets for Atlanta, because I'm going there one way or another. I'm going there as a spectator or as a coach. But no, it is difficult. I mean, we all want to feel good, That's why I don't read things, because I don't want everybody telling me we're good now and telling we're bad 2 games in, I just try to keep a perspective on things. I try to look at us every day, and I watch the film of every practice, and I say, are we getting better? We had a week where we didn't get any better. Last week, we had like 4 days in a row where I thought we made a significant jump each day. We had a day off Sunday. I wasn't real excited about yesterday's practice. I didn't think we made that jump. We talked about it after. We had actually a film session. Today we got media day, so we're off. And then tomorrow, and then Thursday and Friday, we need 3 good practices in a row. This is the time now where we're starting to go 3 days in a row off a day. We've been going 2 days on, 1 day off. We've actually taken more days off than normal, but we started so damn early that I think it was a necessity. So, I don't know, for me, I mean, hey, somebody's always mad at you about something. It always keeps you humble. And I'm definitely not reading our own press clippings because I still think we lost a lot. I'm still proud of where we are, happy with where we're rated, whatever that is, excited about having a chance to live up to expectations. But the reality of things is there's been a lot more lost than we're looking at, you know, and that's what I'm trying to stay humble about.
Last year, over the course of the season, offense kind of changed, adjusted, evolved, whatever word you want to use, and a lot of it was due to circumstances with lack of bodies. But given what you saw maybe over those last 15 games, what would you like to take from that, add to this year, and then also maybe take, I imagine some of the stuff from earlier in the year, higher possessions, running more?
I thought running more would be one. I also thought we utilized Xavier in more ball swings and rolls. You know, Nick wasn't as good at that. Nick was more of a low post player. We threw it in, and he was, you know, I mean, we do forget he was averaging 15 a game when he went out. I mean, he was playing very well. So, but you know, when you lose a guy, there's some good things about it, and there's some bad things about it. You know, we don't have the low post scoring like we had with Nick. We probably are a little better in the ball screen area, but I think running with the depth we have on the perimeter right now is going to be essential. And I think all those four men can run, and Xavier can run. So I'd like to run even more. I think we got a chance to be even a better defensive team. What I can't do is play Cassius into the ground like I did, play McQuaid into the ground like I did. That really wasn't fair. It wasn't even fair to put Aaron Henry in the position I put him in, going from playing a little bit to having to start and play a lot. But as you say, there were some circumstances that were, you know, handed to us, and I thought our guys did a great job of adjusting to those circumstances.
I'm really talking a lot about Xavier and what he has done, really the last two postseasons to kind of build into the next season. I guess, where is his ceiling right now for this year?
That's really not only a good question, an important question. I say that because I constantly, you know, want more out of him because I think he's got so much more to give. He has been our most efficient guy. We've done a lot of charting of scoring and rebounding and assists and turnovers. He has been by far our most efficient guy. He's scoring with his left hand, his right hand, he's scoring from inside, he's scoring from outside. Still not the post scorer that Nick was. And that's an area that I'm, you know, I think we need that to get a little better. But I think his defense, you know, is a little Draymond-ish. You know, he can guard different people. He can guard the ball screens. His off-the-ball defense, if somebody else is on the ball screen, he's always in the right place. He's getting steals. He's doing things. He's a very, very efficient player that I think is improving. You know, what you love about a guy, and Denzel was like this a little bit, he's gotten better every year. Although Cassius has gotten better every year. Josh has been hindered by some of the injuries, but you know, it's going to be interesting to see can we get Aaron Henry better every year. If you're getting guys better every year, kudos to the assistant coaches, but kudos to the player. That means the player spending time in the offseason working on his game, and I really enjoy that.
Tom, you've been highly rated before, been picked to win the Big Ten before, been ranked 1, 2, or 3 before. Is there anything different about this season, either by circumstance or by where you stand in your career, where the program is? Is anything different about this being a favored team?
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I mean, when I look at it, we were picked second or third in some polls back in 11, and we barely got to the tournament, you know. So I keep reminding myself of that to make sure I keep my head on right. And that was because of distractions, you know. And I think this team has pretty good leadership at the top. Not as vocal a leadership as I would like, but they're all really good guys. I think that there is a hunger of getting so close and getting another chance. I think we got close in 09. if you remember 2010, we had a lot of injuries. I think we got close in 99, and 2000 we won it. I think we got close in 15, and 16 we had a hell of a team. We just couldn't get by Middle Tennessee, just situations. And I think we had one of our best teams in 17, and just, was it 17 when we had Miles and Jared? 18. And a lot of things that year. So it's, what's different is I think I like the path we've taken. We've not put everything on trying to win the national championship. Maybe Zell's team did that a little bit more. We try to, yes, we're always, as long as I'm here, I'm going to have an interest in playing late into March or early April. That is the goal. Every year it will always be the goal, unless there's some freak and, we lose 3/4 of our team. But that is always going to be the goal. There are more realistic times, and I think this is realistic times because we have some depth. We have a quarterback. We have a quarterback that is very stable and very solid, and I think is making improvements and understands that without getting carried away with his own goals and ambitions. I mean, Cassius can score it. I swear he'd still rather pass it. And hard to beat that from one of your stars.
Tom over here. I got a two-parter. One serious, one a little more.
Please copy you, Hondo.
It sounds like you were hinting that maybe you might be looking at going with a little more full court press this season. And then secondly, when you think about it, are you more excited about the fact that you could potentially start the season ranked #1, or that your guys responded to Twitter like they have?
You know what? I don't get fooled by the Twitter thing. That was totally theirs. I didn't even know they were going to do it. But, there's so many other forms of social media that it doesn't overexcite me. It's like I haven't been on Twitter since the day I was born. And yet every day somebody tells me what somebody said about me or somebody said about our program. So I don't think those guys are going to totally get away from that. I just thought it was unique that they felt that they tried to sacrifice a little bit to get a little something. Back in the Cleves days, remember when they all shaved their heads? And that was their deal. Everybody makes a different commitment for a different reason. I saw where Catholic Central is doing something, that they want to do to try to sacrifice a little bit and give back a little bit. I think those things are all cool. So what was the second part of that question?
Full court press potential.
Full court press potential. It is a potential. It just depends on what guards I use, I think Aaron and where we are physically, where can Josh go? What can he do? I feel very good about where Josh is. But again, it's been 3 weeks, and we've had a lot of days off. We haven't gone the 4 or 5 days in a row like you're going to have to do during the season or in a tournament in Hawaii or something. So some of that will depend on that. Some will depend on is Cash going to be able to do some of those things that we're going to be able to rest them enough. And I like my chances of that too. So that's in the game plan, whether I'll use it or not. If I do, it'll be hard for Larry Lage to criticize me.
You have 2 married guys on the roster now. People got married over the summer. I wonder if that's a first for you since you've been here, I would think. And what's that dynamic like? Is that different at all?
Well, their wives tell me that it's a definite positive. History doesn't tell me anything because I've never had it, So thank God. Xavier's gone through it, and Kyle, I think, Kyle's been dating the same girl. I think they met. I don't know if it was in nursery school or if it was when they were both born, but they've been dating for a long, long time. So I don't think there's any major changes. They're still staying in the hotel night for a game. The others are out, and they have showed no difference in anything they do. You know, with Xavier last year, there were some pluses to it. That guy spent a lot of time over there. Guys helped him with his daughter. I thought it was a little bit of a team bonding thing. We've done a few different things. I've really adjusted to the times. So we had a little function at my house, and for the first time in my career, I bring all the managers, all the student secretaries, all the players, all of our families, and this time I invited wives and girlfriends. And it was awesome because I made a bet with my staff that 90% of the guys wouldn't bring their girlfriends, and I was right on. But I invited them. I invited them all. So that was kind of something new. So those of you that say that I don't change with the times, or I'm not up to speed on what's going on because I don't use Twitter, you're full of it.
You're fond of saying that a player if he's not playing, it's hard to lead. This summer, talking to your guys, everyone to a T, when I asked about leaders, mentioned Jack. At the Final Four, he runs out on the court to yell at Cash about something. I'm curious, have you ever had a situation where a guy probably isn't going to play, but is one of your key leaders?
You know, not often, but he has respect from all the guys. You know, I don't know if it's his, you know, it's kind of, you look at Jack and you say, this kid has really gotten better each year too, you know, and had a chance to go with his dad and wanted to stay here. I'm hoping it's because of me. I'm thinking it could be his girlfriend. I don't know which one, but either way, I'm excited to have him back because he is somebody that everybody on this team likes. You know, he was very close with Jaren Jackson. He just has a way about him, and I think he understands what it's like to be in the limelight. I think it'd be good for Steven, as crazy as it sounds, because you know he had to live in his dad's shadow a little bit, and so yeah, I think Jack can be a leader. I think Jack. What I got is a lot of guys that lead by example. What I'm looking for is a few more guys that lead by voice, and you know, I still haven't found totally that, but it is getting better, and I think that'll, you know, we got 2-3 weeks to go. What is it, 3 weeks from today? 3 weeks from today we open. It seems like we've been practicing for 100 years.
Coach over here. You mentioned Lawyer gaining weight, and you mentioned Aaron Henry's ability in the open court. What have you seen from him, as well as Rocket Watts and Lawyer, and their ability to maybe give Cassius a breather? You mentioned that you didn't want to run him into the ground. Are we going to see a combination of the three, one of the three step up?
I think you'll see a combination of Foster. Rocket can play the two or some point. Cassius can actually play the two, and sometimes that would get him off the pressure of being on the point the whole time with people just nagging him, and he'll be able to come off screens instead of having to create everything. So we do feel we can move some guys around. Foster does run the team, can make shots, and you know, in Rocket, he can really guard, and he really can pass the ball and make shots. He has the dimension of being able to guard in there. So the game plan is to get him more like some of the good years when those point guards are playing 30 minutes or 32 minutes instead of 36 minutes. Get them some rest, couple minutes each half, and do a better job of managing the team, or managing, you know, the minutes, because there's no question. I mean, I don't think I had a choice last year, so I can blame myself or beat myself up, but the situation we're presented with led to the way we did it. If you watch that last game and watch McQuaid kind of cramping up twice during the game, and you know, him and Cassius just, you know, the Aaron Henry foul situation got us in trouble. But a lot of guys played a lot of straight minutes, and that wasn't healthy for us, especially with a team that played 7-8 guys constantly.
Tom, you brought Tom back to your staff. What elements have you brought to this team?
You guys know I love Tom. I mean, it's been, it's funny because we had somebody in from Denver the other day that had been at Phoenix with him, a scout. He was just talking about all the guys, the way they, Tom has been almost more vocal. He's realizing that there's so much more to playing, more to coaching than playing in a lot of ways. I came in this morning at about 6:45 because I had to go on the road a little bit this morning, and who was the first guy? It was Tom, But with him and Chris, I have two graduate managers that, Chris didn't play here, his brother did, of course, Benny, but there's connections to here, and they've both been great. I mean, not good, great. Over the years, I've had some good graduate managers, but these guys are as good as I need to have. They do anything I ask them to do. They can spend a lot of time in the film room. They understand a lot of stuff. Chris picks up things quick. You look at Tom, and this is kind of his 5th year here. So having him back is good for me because every single day, just like the 4 years he played, he's always happy. And every single day, including the 4 years he played, I'm 90% miserable. So we have two people that are, we keep balance on this program, and there's good balance. And so Tom's my balance guy. He's one guy that I can look eye to eye with, so he's always going to be special to me. And he's one guy that cares about people. He gets along with everybody. I told him we got to get Rocket in more to shoot. Rocket's been in more shooting. I mean, he just, I don't know if he'll end up in coaching because he has so many other things he wants to do, but this experience is going to help him. It's going to help me, and that's been a good deal for both of us.
I think the word distraction has been brought up probably at least 5 times in this press conference. So first of all, I'm wondering...
500 in my career.
Well, how many times in practice so far has that word been brought up? And to differentiate maybe your teams in the past from the level that they're at in terms of the expectations, how do you think that that's going to separate, if you just maybe realize what you've learned in previous years of tuning out distractions and how it can help this team at the level that it's at?
Well, it was like Xavier, Cassius, those guys were there when we got beat by Syracuse, and there were a lot of distractions. And I look at what I do with every football team, around the country, what I do with every NFL team around the country. It was interesting having the Pistons here. I thought Dwayne Casey was phenomenal. Just things he said, I would spend every night with him. Just because, they have some of the same problems, and yet college kids have more of them, believe it or not. There's just more people hanging around all the time, and they're more impressionable in some ways. So, I do harp on that. I do harp on the distractions. I just say we got to keep our circle close. We got to tune out the outside world, and really try to challenge ourselves every day. Did we get better today? Did I get better today? If those two things are happening, we're going to make some progress. And I think there's not a coach in America that won't tell you the biggest thing they worry about are the distractions. They come in a lot of different ways. Sometimes injuries are a distraction. Sometimes wives might be a distraction. I'm going to find that out, Sometimes, different problems become a distraction. Sometimes academics become a distraction. I mean, it is a commonly used word, and sometimes it's thrown around. But I promise you this, usually championship teams have fewer distractions. You always hear it. You hear it with the Patriots, you hear it with, you heard it with Golden State, tight group guys, and then when that started to dissipate a little bit, then you get other issues. So I try to take a lot of programs, a lot of teams, where I do watch press conferences to find out how coaches handle things. I still call a lot of people. That's one area I try to stay on top of and learn from, and show my team films of different things that have happened, different press conferences, different motivational things I see, because staying focused, let me tell you something, it's hard for all of us to stay focused. There's just too much noise out there, and it's the way it is, and they convinced me that I'm not going to change certain things, so I'm going to try to adjust the best I can and try to help these guys through the things that, thank God, I didn't have to deal with as a player or as a young assistant or as a young head coach that I have to deal with now.
Got time for one or two more if there are?
Tom, sorry, you mentioned you're probably not going to play him against Kentucky, but you know, you've obviously been in the spotlight for a long time, but having Stephen here now, I guess, just simply, how excited are you to kind of share that with him this year and I guess for a few years?
You know, I don't want to make it bigger, I don't want to make it worse, you know, I can only tell you this. Throughout my career, as I look back on when we ordered rings for people, I look back at some of the rings I ordered for some players I've had, and some of them nobody knew about, but I took a kid one year just for different reasons, you know, he had battled some health issues, and in my mind, you know, there were things he couldn't do, and it was a rewarding experience for me, for my players, for him, so it's a win-win-win. I just want to make sure everybody knows nobody's taking a scholarship from anybody or really a spot from anybody. I mean, I don't even know what I'll do with him. Am I going to redshirt him in case he grows 6 inches over the summer? I might do that. Am I gonna play him in a game sometime just so he can say he played in college? I wouldn't think you're going to have to spend a lot of time researching, but you do got to appreciate that whether people think so or not, I bleed, I cry, I get excited, I get sad. I'm no different than anybody in this room, and a lot of you in this room have kids too. Some of you have been around as your kid follows you around in your job, right? And mine's following me around in mine, except I get to yell at him once in a while. You know, it's a cool deal. But thank God for Mike Garland, because you know Mike's got him. You know, it's just been enjoyable because I don't give him any slack, and yet I don't. You know, he's not out there all the time, guys. You know, he's doing drill work, helping us, helping the other guys get better. He's doing some things, and we'll see. You know, one thing he can do, I don't know where he got it, because I couldn't. He can shoot it. So, you know, I enjoy that part of him. But what I really enjoy is every day I come to practice, I get to do something I didn't do for 18 years. And that's the only thing I took a little offense on, you know. And my apology for that, because I understand how people feel and think, but once in a while in this job, and I can't tell you there's been many times in this job that I have put my family before my job. And once in a while I'm not actually proud of that, and be able to do a little bit of both, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, and I'm going to do the best I can as long as he remains a good student, a good teammate, and listens to his dad on the court. He can be the same jerk off the court that most 18-year-olds are, and I'm cool with that, you know. I'm somewhat cool with that, but everything else has been good.
Coach, one final one here.
Yeah, Coach in the back. The camaraderie, the cohesiveness, the connectedness that made last year's team so special. How anxious are you to see that with this year's team on the court? And maybe you won't get to analyze that until you get to live game action.
Well, I think, you know, I'm not going to lie. I still say the biggest worry I have, so everybody can figure this out. I mean, we open with probably maybe the toughest 26 days that we've ever had here. If you look at the rankings, if you look at the teams, I mean, here's a Kentucky team we open with, and used to say, well, at least they have 5 freshmen starting. Now they actually have sophomores. Cal screwed me up a little bit, so must be holding his players back, as they say about me sometimes. But, you know, that is going to be a tough stretch. My worry is, does Josh push a little bit more or not? You know, is he going to try to get it all back? Is he going to, you know, how do people react to things? So it's going to be hard to get me to waver because I already know going in what I know. And the goal, if you check the print shop, no 40 and 0 shirts at the print shop, okay? I'm hoping to survive early and get better and get better and get better. And we know this is a good team, a really good team, with good talent, with good experience. But we also know that we have some things that are unanswered yet. And that's what the next 3 weeks will be for. And that's what those 3 weeks at the start of the season will be for. And then we're going to see, you know, if we win some games, maybe we're in a better position than I thought. We move forward. If we lose some games, it'll give us something to work for. I was worried that I'd bite off more than I can chew this year, just because of the Josh Kyle thing a little bit. It keeps me up at night a little bit, but at the same time, I know this is a good team, and I'm not afraid of that at all. I'm excited about it. I know I got good guys, and I know I got different things at each position. You know, putting them together. Is Gabe going to be consistent? We scrimmaged 2 days in a row, and I think he was like 13 for 16, you know, really shot it well. Is that going to continue? Is he going to get better defensively? You know, what will Aaron do? What will Josh do? How do we play those guys together if they don't get as much time in practice, because we got to rest Josh now? We can't play him every day yet. Those are kind of the things that I'm looking forward to. But I am looking forward to, we had a little camp out last week that we couldn't have because of the weather. So we had 4,500 to 5,000 students in Breslin. I think it was the largest student group ever in the history of this program. That was exciting. You know, we did some things, we had some events, we had practice, we watched the football game. Reconnecting with this university in that way is pretty exciting for me. So I got a lot of great things to look forward to. There's going to be some struggles. There's going to be some times when I'll probably shake my head. But at the same time, I can't wait to get started, because I do think this has the potential to be a special year. And what we got to realize is, boy, since Gary Harris, you know, after that 2 years maybe when we went to the 2 Final Fours, I thought we had 2 semi-unpedestrian-like years for us, you know, where we were okay. And then we got back to the Elite Eights and Final Fours and Sweet 16s, and we're playing for something just about every year right now, and that's exciting. That's what I'm proudest of, and yet I want to win another one. You know, I think there's a lot of guys out there that want to win another one. There's a lot of guys that want to win the first one. There's a lot of guys that want to get to the first Final Four. I'm going to try to make sure that we get as good as we can be and give these people around here something to be excited about, something to cheer about, something to have fun with, because I got good guys. It'll be good for you to interview them. It'll be good to watch play, and we plan on having some fun. So thanks. Enjoy them the rest of the day, and whatever you need from me, yeah.